involved in politics whenever you guys are the party of George Soros, of Bill and Melinda Gates, of Sheryl Sandberg, of Mackenzie Bezos, of Taylor Swift, of so many other billionaires across the country, as well as every woke, weird pervert in Hollywood. I find this incredibly disingenuous. I think the reality is that the Republican Party under President Trump has a very clear mandate from voters, and you guys don't like it because voters rejected everything you stand for and every policy that you've shoved down the American people's throats over the past 4 years, whether it's open borders, a failing economy, raging inflation, this weird woke stuff that you guys have been shoving down our children's throats. And the voters rejected you and they welcomed our party.
That is my guest, who was born on a military Air Force base in New Mexico, grew up on a cattle ranch in West Texas, became an investment banker on Wall Street, went to Dartmouth, graduated cum laude with degrees in economics and history. Apparently couldn't get into Brown. Was also president of the Christian Union. Please welcome to the program Texas Representative Brandon Gill. Congressman, thank you very much for coming on.
Larry, thanks for having me.
Thank you for ignoring
thanks for having me.
Thank you for ignoring the shot I took at Dartmouth. Congressman,
there's always been a rivalry with Brown. I can tell you, Dartmouth is liberal, but it's not as liberal as Brown is.
Well, Brown is insane, and I know from personal experience. Congressman, the president's been in office now for 4 weeks. Give him a grade.
I'd give him an A+ across the board. I mean, he is moving so fast in executing on his mandate and doing exactly what he's been telling voters he was going to do. It's so refreshing to see a president who wants to take this country back and is working in the best interests of the American people. I couldn't be happier with how President Trump has handled things over the past month.
I watch a lot of CNN and MSNBC, as I tell my listeners, so you don't have to. And already he's being criticized, Trump is, for, quote, not bringing down prices, because Donald Trump on the campaign from time to time said prices will come down on day one. We had 4 years of inflation, record high inflation, 40-year high inflation, at one time 9% annual inflation, and after 4 weeks they expect the prices to go down. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I would remind my Democrat colleagues across the aisle that President Trump is a president, not a dictator. And he ran on a lot of different things. He ran on securing the border, which he's done. He ran on ending the weird woke stuff, which he's done. He ran on, bringing power back to the American people, which he is fighting to do and which the left is fighting every single step of the way. And listen, our economy is already in a better position now than we were 4 weeks ago. So this is going to be a process, but President Trump has done a phenomenal job of bringing power back to the American people and getting our country back on track. And that's why his approval rating is so high. That's why the majority of Americans have a favorable approval rating of President Trump, higher than he ever had in his first administration.
Yeah, his approval ratings are highest he's ever had. He's been in politics for about 10 years, and he's at 53%, depending upon the poll that you look at. Congressman, one of my favorite programs is Fox Business Show with Lawrence Kudlow. And as you know, he was an advisor to President Trump. He's really, really worried about the failure for the House to have passed one big, beautiful bill, and feels that what happened in the Reagan administration, the reason in the midterms they lost a lot of seats, is because the tax bill did not happen until later on into the year. So the feeling is increasingly that you guys in the House need to get your act together and pass one big, beautiful bill, and the sooner the better. Do you feel that way?
Listen, I want to get the Trump agenda passed as quickly as we possibly can. And right now, we are on track to do one big, beautiful bill in the House. I'm on the Budget Committee, and just last week we passed the first step of that, which is the budget resolution. I think it is an incredibly great framework to kick off the reconciliation process. So I would love to see us pass one big, beautiful bill, and I will be working nonstop and pushing my colleagues in the House to get this thing done as soon as possible. Of course, the Senate has their own version of the reconciliation bill that, they're looking to do two bills. We'll see what works, but if we can get one big, beautiful bill, I think I think everybody, including my colleagues in the Senate, would prefer that. To your point, we've got to get tax reform done as quickly as possible, because we need to show businesses, we need to show the American people, and we need to show the rest of the economy that we're serious about extending the Trump tax cuts. And we want to get those benefits from extending the Trump tax cuts as quickly as possible.
It appears, Congressman, that the economy you guys inherited is a little worse than we thought. Apparently, about 1 million fewer jobs were created under the Biden administration because the numbers have been revised downward, and inflation the last 3 or 4 months has exceeded about 4%.
That's right, and that just underscores the importance of extending the Trump tax cuts. No Republican wants to see the biggest tax hike in American history, and that's what would happen if Democrats got their way and these tax cuts expired. So this is of the utmost importance for us. You know, the American people are tired of having a government in Washington that spends money that we don't have on things we don't need, which, by the way, is what drives up inflation. Because the way you fill that gap is by printing additional dollars, which dilutes the value of dollars that are in the American people's pockets. So that is a reason why there's a lot of urgency to get this done as quickly as possible.
Got a call yesterday, Congressman, from a listener who's worried that Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid might be touched, might be altered, because she's dependent upon all three. What's your message to someone like that?
Well, I would say, first of all, President Trump has been very, very clear that we are not going to touch benefits for Social Security or Medicare. That's not going to be a part of this reconciliation process. Now, there's an enormous amount of waste, as we're finding out and have found out over the past few weeks, of dead people getting Social Security benefits. That is something that I think that we need to take a serious look at and get rid of. But benefits in those areas are not going to be touched. Let me tell you that cutting out waste, fraud, and abuse is the best way to shore up these programs. And that's what House Republicans are doing. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, these programs are unsustainable if we allow the left to continue doling out benefits to people who are either dead or to entities that have no business getting taxpayer dollars. So this is the most fiscally responsible way to handle these programs, but it's also, more importantly, the way to protect benefits for the American people.
Congressman, are you telling me you're anti-dead people getting Social Security checks? Perish the thought. Congressman, we're going to take a break. We come back. I want to ask you about the impact of tariffs. Do you feel they're going to be inflationary? Do you feel that the president is violating kind of free market principles by people like Milton Friedman by imposing tariffs? My guest is Congressman Brandon Gill of Texas. What is your reaction to free market people, and I'm one of them, who in general supports tariffs, even if they're unilateral tariffs? Although there were exceptions that even Milton Friedman and the father of modern economics, Adam Smith, even offered for why sometimes you might want to use tariffs. Give me your overall philosophy on tariffs, and how is Donald Trump going to handle the possible pressure on prices by imposing tariffs?
Well, first of all, on your point about tariffs driving inflation, inflation is driven by the printing press being run nonstop over at the Federal Reserve and printing more and more dollars and diluting the value of the existing dollars. That's where inflation comes from. Now, regarding tariffs, what President Trump is doing with reciprocal tariffs is he's simply saying that if a foreign country is taxing our exports into their country, we're going to do the same to them. The goal here is a reduction in tariffs across the board. So this is actually a way of flexing American economic might to promote free trade. What he's saying is that we are tired of being taken advantage of globally. We're tired of allowing foreign countries to tax American businesses. And in order to get rid of that, we're going to flex our muscle a little bit. We're going to tax their businesses with the goal of bringing taxes down for everybody. And that's something that should be beneficial for Americans, that should be beneficial for our foreign allies. And that's something that I think everybody should get behind. So that is why I'm comfortable with what President Trump is doing. I think that this is actually the free market approach, and this is the way to drive greater access to capital markets across the globe.
I think there's also a national security argument, too, by putting pressure on Canada and on Mexico to do more about making sure that their borders are secure and we can stop the flow of fentanyl, which apparently has already happened.
Well, that's exactly right. I don't think that anybody, regardless of where you are in the political spectrum, believes that it is healthy or good for us to rely on foreign nations, particularly hostile foreign nations, for key inputs into our economy. We talk a lot about energy, for instance. We have the ability to drill for oil right here in the United States. We should be doing that. We shouldn't be relying on Venezuela or Russia or other hostile foreign regimes. And I think that there's a real strong case to be made that we shouldn't be relying on hostile foreign regimes for key pharmaceutical products or key semiconductors, or any other crucially important inputs into our economy. And I think that that's something that the American people have recognized for a long time that Washington has ignored, and President Trump is finally taking national security, especially as it relates to economics, very, very seriously here.
Congressman, just 15, 20 seconds left. Give me your thoughts on your petition to get Ilhan Omar arrested and deported. Just 10 seconds if you have it.
Well, here's what I would say is Ilhan Omar has been facilitating the invasion of our country by illegal alien Somalis. And I think that raises serious questions as to whom is she most loyal, illegal aliens or American citizens.
Thanks for watching these clips from The Larry Elder Show. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment. More thought-provoking discussions are just a click away, so stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.